Swing the iron like Sam, ain't let no hold the lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one saying this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Shut up and stay alert. Another cop just stretched the nigga. He a demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gon' get active with you. From the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit and I ain't listening. Is in fact the fear. If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. So time war, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them just call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get him crackers, hell should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that, bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he said something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that pipe first. I turn a bad situation to a game changer. Bring soldiers from the dead, just wake up the chain first. Shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified woman's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow side, yeah, this the rim of court. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my brain, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get that boy lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his gang, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
I'ma show him it's a difference. I'ma only say this once, you better listen. When West is where it started, so you know that's where it finished. We got one main objective, nigga, let's complete the mission. We explain what the who, lead them bitches and they feelin'. Snub on me, only time I put my nose inside your business. I don't want my gun to show, so I wear my shirt bigger. This is our world, cause if this was your world, I'd be the villain. Break his whole block down, all I gotta do is bend and stuff in Mac shell drums. Turn your crib to Sunday dinner. You don't live here, you visit, this my shit, it's a difference. I don't do lean, Lobos in my cup is what I'm sipping. I don't do dreams, I just say a prayer, go and get it. And it all work out, you know this ain't for play, this ain't for fun. I've been destined for this shit, niggas know that I'm the one. Shit can go 100 yards, you would think I kicked a punt. You would think I had a flare gun on go, you niggas run. They like he an Israelite, all he rap about is guns. Bitch, I'm an Israelite. They own a lot of stuff. What that nigga who? Tell him watch the grind. Yeah, you must be crazy if you ever think of stopping mine. Knock all of the chains out you niggas, make them drop a dime. Tourist hole 12, it is not a zodiac sign. Piss me off, get me in my bag, make me drop a bomb. Drop a nuke, make the world freeze, I can stop the time. Watch what you do, cause once you do it, you can't press rewind. On purpose, I do the opposite, so nigga cross the line. It's different, I ain't looking for trouble, but on point, case you think I rap. Turn him to a vegetable, lead this nigga cabbage patch. No new niggas with me, if you see him, then they got my back. Got it out the mud, big stepping, you can see the tracks. Follow me, I could teach you something. Have her see relax. If you gon' speak on anything, just make sure it's facts. It's a difference. Around all real niggas, then we move as one. This ain't Fortnite. Get to it, ain't no 1v1. Can't take we just make it look. She asked what kind of oil I got on. I told her give them some. What's the only real niggas left? You better get you one. Chicken shop giving out wings if I pull a drum. It's a difference. Your word before you eat your tongue. Scrape the whole plate, not a trace nor leave a crumb. Ice falling off the watching chain like it's freezing to burn. Daring somebody to say my name. My WT means everything, so I don't eat with them.
It's rolling, no, that's it.
Know the people been waiting for a minute for something authentic. Came in the truth and bossing it, made niggas regroup. Had to shed light on the false image. You can't hold court. Now who the fuck won scrimmage? 2 words for soft niggas. But it's good riddance. Don't affiliate with feminine symptoms. I know you feel me, nigga. This a death threat to hip hop. You don't stop that weak shit. I'ma mix your lean with some Grimlock. When the last time you heard it this raw? What I wish for's when the earth inherited by the piss ball. We've been to war, them the ones I'm taking risks for. Ain't got no pics or no cars to hold. Holy angels watch my steps, them Glock guard my soul. Can't let them leave my body cold. I know you feel me, nigga. Let the wicked weep and the meek prevail. God never been 50-50. I shall now wake to sleep a cell. Let the righteous cry, silence the pretender. A rebel without a cause, as long as I remember. Not taking the kingdom, the only thing on my agenda. Can't avoid me, nigga. Middle finger to the ones that try to destroy me. Revenge of beauty, I'm a beast. I told the bitch she can't eat unless she join me for dinner. My God ain't got no regard for a sinner. One call fall on him like timber. I know you feel me, nigga. In the eyes of terror, I stand still. Go to work for the colony, bring it back to the anthill. Plus everything I drop heavy as an anvil. Try to stand like a man in his death field. I know you feel me, nigga. Fuck equality, it gotta be. One man win and the rest lose. Wave devastator, I'm calculating my next move. UPK will real niggas seek refuge. Body shots for bars, that'll get you bruised. A nigga's whole ranker, check your little attitude. I came to fuck up your move on your little holiday like I'm a Scrooge. Resurrected from the grave, walking from the fall. Visions in my eyes, gripping the mic, screaming God bless the underdog. Down by the letter, and live by that protocol. Walk by faith, not by sight. Ain't no hope for getting struggles. Life like some war resist, or get pulled into a world that never left you. I will endure, election will be sure, correction will be swift. No Will Smith, but I am legend. What else would you call the killer of deception? A leader got soldiers on post in every direction. Oh, like a German shepherd, young and a restless. Swear honor like a diamond necklace. I know you feel me, nigga.
Purchase your tracks today.
It's wrong, you know that. What is it?
You might be asking yourself, do you actually create high quality live streams for free?
Fuck, man. No cover, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. I'm back now. I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. No coward, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. I'm back now. I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. Yeah, you nigga know I'm about to bring the heat, right? Shit, I used to leave the street light. Hey, now I still keep the heat tight. Now nigga on gold like a green light. They say 144, nigga, you can get it. Ain't gotta tell me twice. Tryna stack a couple grand, get on some land, that'll put us on our feet. I'm in the field with the Warriors. And you know a nigga glorious, but we still keep it G though. Keep them tools Home Depot. Might hit him with the Rico. Hey, hit the nigga with the Rico. Hey, said they fucked up the rap game. What you looking at me for? So I know they can't stand me. That's why I keep a Glock handy. Might sip a little brandy. While I'm chilling with the family. Tell him a real nigga landed. Dressing all black like a bandit. Bitch, I ain't come to play. Bitch, I came to do damage. No coward, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. I'm back now. I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a whip, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know No coward, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. Back now, I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a weapon, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. Back now we ballin'. Ain't Babylon falling. You know the path a nigga walk. Nigga raised up, now I'm all in. And all I ever wanted was the win in the big body bench. Now I'm gone in the wind, tryna stack a couple in. Now let's get it in, yeah, let's get it in. About to make the shit tremble. 144, the rebel. About to turn it up a level. Heat the bitch up like lava. And it probably bring a whole mob. And all that we fear is our father. And I'm headed for the top dollars. And ain't none gon' stop me. None gon' stop. No coward, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. I'm back now. I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a weapon, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know. No coward, no nigga came back down. I thought I'd let you know that I was gone, but I never left. I'm back now. I thought I'd let you know this brotherhood is a weapon, and I never let it go. Never let it free. Shit, I kill for my niggas. I thought I'd let you know.
All right, Shalom Israel. We're at the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, start out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commandant General Yohana. Tonight is the Friday night Lashawan Qadash class. We'll go ahead and give it up for the Lord. So this again the Lashawan Qadash class, saying where we break down the Hebrew in our, the authentic Hebrew. Where we understand our language, our culture, so that we can, understand our language, so that we can understand these scriptures better, so that we can understand, the context of certain, of certain situations, scriptures, and separate ourselves from our oppressor who stole our culture, create confusion, right? Tonight, we just gonna get right into it. If you got any questions in the room or online, feel free to ask those questions, put them in the chat. Now will be the time, or anytime throughout class when they come up, just raise your hand or put them in the chat and we'll get to them. The whole intention for this class is to get a better understanding of the biblical Hebrew, so that we can understand how to read it, speak it, pronounce it, and all of that, write it, and all of that. So, make sure you got your learning utensils, for this class. I advise you have a notebook, a separate notebook from where you would take your usual notes for any other class, a pen, a Bible. You should have a concordance, Strong's Hebrew concordance. You should have your what else? You should have all those things, right? So that we can, follow along, look things up as we learn new things, keep notes as we learn new things. Otherwise, we pretty much wasting our time. And we don't want to waste time, right? So we're going to get right into it. First, as we usually do, we're going to start off with the Hebrew alphabet. And this is, as we already know, this is the Assyrian Hebrew. So this is the version of Hebrew that we used during our captivity under the Assyrians. And as I say, pretty much every class, I'm writing in this specific type of Hebrew on purpose, because if you look at like text, like you got the biblical Hebrew textbook and workbook. You got the Strong's Concordance. If you look at these things, the Hebrew dictionary, that's another tool you're gonna need. The Hebrew dictionary, the Strong's Concordance. If you look in these things, it's gonna be written like this. So for the sake of becoming familiar and being able to recognize these, the Hebrew, the Assyrian Hebrew, I'm gonna write in that Hebrew so that we can get used to seeing it. So just to go over the Hebrew alphabet again, we got A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Cha, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I, Pa, Taza, Kwa, Ra, Sha, and Tha. Right? And as we get more comfortable, a marker?
The instance,
It's over. Well, as we get more comfortable, and as we get, as we grow, as we get in class more often, as we learn more, as we take more notes, we should get more comfortable with the Hebrew alphabet. So, you should be able to, at this point, be able to read the alphabet and recite the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, in its order, and be able to read the Hebrew without necessarily, checking what we got over. Got the alphabet over here. You should be able to read, and you should be able to read and recite the alphabet at least, and be able to pinpoint and recognize characters without having to go constantly check back in your notes. If you still got to go check back in your notes, that's absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that. But as you grow, you do want to get to the point where you can, off the top of your head, recite the alphabet and be able to read the Hebrew without having to constantly flip back and forth between, different pages in your notes. So, that's the goal right there. Note again, keep in mind, you got your Ka, Ma, Na, Pa, and Taza, who has a different character at the end of it when it appears at the end of a word. So just keep that in mind. Write that somewhere in your notes. That's going to be a foundation of what you're going to need to know as far as the Hebrew. Also, make sure you understand and get familiar with your prepositions and possessives, because as we go over this, you're going to see these a lot, and it's going to, again, be another building block to help you understand the Hebrew. So, again, let's make sure we're doing our due diligence. Again, if you got any questions in the chat, questions in the room, just make sure you get those questions out there so we could go ahead and answer them, right? So tonight, we're gonna do a little review. Last week, we broke down the Hakak, which is the power. It's a prayer that we say asking the Most High God for power to, to do certain things, right? So the power to heal all manner of sickness, all manner of disease, to cleanse the lepers, to raise the dead, power over unclean spirits, to cast them out, all of those things, right? And we break these things down so that we can get an understanding of what we're saying, and why we, why we're saying the things that we say during these prayers that we say at the beginning and end of Sabbath service, feast days, in the classes, and all of that, right? And it'll also help you build your vocabulary with root words and being able to manipulate root words and create different words and phrases using what we learned the past couple classes. We got the ya. Just to refresh, we got ya in the middle of a word. That means you're making a word past tense. And then you got a wa in the middle of a word, which means present tense. So, we just gonna review what we've learned up until this point so that we can make sure we're digesting what we're learning. You know what I'm saying? It's no use of coming to class every week and, taking these notes if we're not going back and reviewing these notes and actually making sure we're retaining what we're learning, right? Again, we don't want to waste our time up here. So we're just gonna get right into it. Just make sure you keep an eye out as we go through. If you remember from last class, remember, if you could see if you can recall what root words mean, see if you can point out these tenses, these additions in the middle of the word to create a different tense. See if you can recognize prepositions and possessives as we go through it, right? So last week we went over the hakak, which means what? Hakak. So you got, let me write over here, Salaki. So you got hakak, right? Let's make sure we get that strong ha down, right? You know what I'm saying? It might be hard to get it at first, but just make sure we're practicing. Hakak. That strong ha, right? So last week we learned how to separate root words from their possessive in their preposition, right? So we got ha, hakak, which means, so we know that ha means the, kak means power. More specifically, ability, right? So we already know that this word right here Allah, we know that word means power, but more specifically, like this word is talking about, the Most High and His messengers, his messengers, angels, the authority that He puts out to do His will in the earth, right? This word meaning power, hakak, means the ability. So last week we went over this prayer talking about asking the Most High for the ability to do something, right? So just to distinguish between the two, right? This is talking about the messengers, the authority, and in His name, right? Kha means ability, right? So the strength, the ability to do something. So the hakak begins with Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kasha, Nathanawa hakak, which means the Most High power, in the name of Yahweh Shai, Christ, Baba Kasha, please, or in request, like we talked about last week. As a matter of fact, we're going to go over this real quick. just so we understand, because we have a habit of, you know what I'm saying, we see things so much in the school, or we hear things so much in the school, we get kind of comfortable. And sometimes it's good to get the literal breakdown of, you know what I'm saying, what words mean. So, because larger words are breakdown or can be broken down into smaller words, right? Smaller phrases, smaller part. So we got Yahweh. We already know that that's the Lord's name. Baha Shum. So hopefully by now we know what this means. Baha Shum. You know what I'm saying? This means in the name. So we look at, you know what I'm saying, these prepositions, these possessives, we know ba, you know, ba, ha, shum. So we got ba meaning in, ha, just like it meant here, the, we got the, and then shum is name. Now, in the name of what? In the name of Yahweh, in the name of Christ. Why are we saying in the name of Christ? Because that word name is talking about reputation. You know what I'm saying? So, like how you would say in the world, you know what I'm saying, in English, you know what I'm saying, they throwing dirt on my name, protect your name, you know what I'm saying? It's talking about your reputation. You're not talking about your name, protect the name of Mark, or somebody's throwing the dirt on the name of John or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or Daquan, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's throwing literal dirt on, nobody writing Daquan on a piece of paper and throwing dirt on it. It's throwing dirt on your name is meaning tarnishing your reputation. So that's what that word shum means. And that's how you know that we are a Shemitic people. Like if you go back into Genesis, Genesis 6 and Lakia. Well, if you go back into Genesis 6, right, we know that Noah had 3 sons. So his first son was Ham, then you have Shem, and then Japheth, right? Now, his lineage, the lineage of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the promise was given to Shem, right? So, and then Shem, you know what I'm saying, through the lineage, we got Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So the word Shem, when Shem was given that name, he was given the Lord's reputation. That's what the word Shem means. Shem means, it means name. So the Lord's reputation is carried through Shem and his people, you know what I'm saying, and his children, and his children's children. Then the promise was passed down to, you know what I'm saying, Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob, then so on and so forth. So you got Shem, right? Meaning name, reputation. So when we say Bahashem Yahweh Shai, we're coming in Yahweh Shai, Christ's reputation. Because why? Because he was a perfect man. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have no sin. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't out here breaking the commandments like we do. You know what I'm saying? He kept his reputation, you know what I'm saying, clean. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we say Bahashem in the name, in the reputation of Christ, because you carry your name in your reputation. That's why it was so wicked what that brother did. Ricky Williams, That's what that that's why it was so wicked what that brother did, you know what I'm saying, and taking his Edomite wife, his oppressor wife's last name, you know what I'm saying? Because your reputation is he didn't just take on her last name, he took on the reputation. So just like we got like his last name is Williams, and he said in the article, you know what I'm saying, it was a slave last name. Like Williams is a, you know what I'm saying, a known slave last name, but then he goes on and takes on his slave master wife, his oppressive wife, the so-called the Edomite. You know what I'm saying? He takes on her name, taking on his father or her father's reputation. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so wicked what he did, man, because he dropped, you know what I'm saying, the Lord, you know what I'm saying? He dropped the Lord's inheritance and picked up his oppressor's inheritance, man. Not even realizing that your name is your is where your reputation is. So just moving on. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we, you know what I'm saying, we went over this last week. So, you know, if you didn't see the class from last week, I advise you, you know what I'm saying, go through it and just watch it again to get that more in-depth breakdown of what we're saying in the Hakak. I'm kind of going over it a little, you know what I'm saying? This is just reviews. I'm just going over it real fast. So you got Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kashai, Nathan Lanawa, Hakak. So we know in the Lord's Prayer, you got Nathan Lanawa, call Yawam, give us bread all day, give us this day our daily bread. So Nathan Lanawa in the Hakak is going to be the same in the Lord's Prayer. Nathan, meaning Nathan, meaning give, love, meaning to, and then Nawa, meaning us. All right. So we're going to, last week we separated the root. Nathan means to give. La, as it always does, as it always means. To, then we got Nawa. If you look at your possessives down here, you know what I'm saying, right here you got Nawa, meaning ours, us, or we. So in this case, depending on context, say means us. Wow. Right. So, you know what I'm saying? Just make sure you got all these root words and these prepositions, these possessives, and all of that written down in your notes. And make sure you're able to recognize them offhand, you know what I'm saying, off the top of your head so that you can, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to constantly be flipping through notes. Although it's good to do that, constantly reference your notes, but eventually you want to be able to just read the words, you know what I'm saying? Read the words, read the characters, put them together, be able to pronounce them, you know what I'm saying, on their own, because that's going to help you. That's going to help you be able to, you know what I'm saying, skyrocket your knowledge in the Hebrew, your understanding in the Hebrew, and so that you can grow your understanding over time. So we got Nathan Lanawa, right? Give to us Hachak, power, the power. Give to the Lord's people the power. The power to do what? So we got Hachak La Rapa'ah. So we got hakat, la, ra, pa, ah. Right? We got la. I'm going to separate that as a possessive or preposition as we did last week. And then separate that root word. So we already know that this means two. Ra, pa, ah. Ra, pa, ah, meaning healed. So we're asking for the Most High for the power to heal. To heal what? So last week we learned. So the next part of the prayer is call makala wakal madawam, right? Which is where we learned about this character. This character right here. Ma. Now this is another character that you'll see. It's a preposition, right? So we got down here ma right here, meaning of or from. Now, when you see this word at the beginning of a word, it tends to change the root word completely. You know what I'm saying? It becomes like, me personally, I think of it as like word association. Like it'll take one word and add a prefix to it to make it another word pertaining to the same root word. So we use the example from last week. So we got, let me see. Wow. So last week we had sha. We had shapat. And this word right here is a root word that means judge. Now, when you add that ma at the beginning, shapat becomes ma shapat. So when you add that ma, you get ma shapat, meaning judge meant. Or direct translation, you got of or from judge, from a judge or of a judge, right? So, this is why this is so important again, so that we can recognize these root words and learn to compound, prefixes, the possessive, the prepositions, the tenses onto these words to build new words from the words we already know. So, so at this point, our list of root words should be pretty long. About pretty long. Considering how much we went over the Lord's Prayer and broke that down. We went over the hakat. As we practice using these prepositions and possessives, we learned more root words to practice with those. So at this point, we should have a pretty decent list of root words that we can continue to practice off of. But as you build that list, just consider that. Consider Okay, you take a word from that root word list, and then add what happens when I add ma to it? You take shapat, add ma to shapat, you get ma shapat, which means judgment. You take, you know what I'm saying? You add a yum to that. You add a yum to the end of that, right? Just for more practice. You get yum at the end of it. You got judgments, right? So all of that practice just came from that one word, shapat, right? So, and just notice at the beginning, you have a ma at the beginning, which is open right here. And then you have a ma at the end, which is closed. This is another example of, you know what I'm saying, another thing that we've learned, right? As we said in the beginning, there are certain words or certain characters that have a different character at the beginning, and that is different. Or if it appears at the beginning of a word or the middle of a word versus the end of a word, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Just keep all of these things in mind so that these things can be, you know what I'm saying, natural to us. Because that's how it should feel speaking our language, right? You know what I'm saying? We speak English and it's pretty natural to us. Even though it's not our language, it's just the language that our oppressor forced us to understand. So, you know what I'm saying, for control purpose, for, you know what I'm saying, psychological slavery purposes, right? So, you know what I'm saying, this language is deeper than just, you know what I'm saying, this is how I communicate, this is where I was born. It's breaking psychological chains, right? So, you know what I'm saying, at first we went into physical bondage, hard slavery, where our oppressor literally was beating us and castrating us and murdering us and tearing us apart, raping, robbing, and murdering us, stealing our land, genociding. You know what I'm saying? It was overtly, you know what I'm saying? It was overt slavery. It was blatant slavery where we were being whipped and forced into chains and all of that. And then, you know what I'm saying, over time, you get, you know what I'm saying, they finally took the physical shackles off during the, you know what I'm saying, after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. And then 3 years later, 2.5, 3 years later, when that word finally reached Texas that we were free, then now you have the Juneteenth celebration. You know what I'm saying? So while the physical chains were off in the east, you know what I'm saying, in Virginia and Pennsylvania and all of that, the and that whole those 13 colonies, you moved west, though our brothers and sisters westward, you know what I'm saying, they were still in physical chains. So now you can see that now we have psychological chains on us because of, you know what I'm saying, we, even though we know that our oppressor had us in captivity, and we know that even though some of us were free physically, most of us weren't free physically, we still have the nerve to celebrate the 4th of July, and we'll celebrate the Juneteenth and all of that. Feel like we made a, you know what I'm saying, made a leap out of captivity, and then we'll turn around and celebrate the 4th of July, which is, you know what I'm saying, when we were still picking cotton and all of that. So this is why we do this, you know what I'm saying? Why we break down this language so that we can it's part of taking off these psychological chains, man. That's the whole point. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna go ahead, keep on moving with this review. So we got rapa'a, another root word that you should have gotten from last week. We got So we got Makal, or it's like it Makala, Salakia. So we got Call Makala, Wakal Madawam, right? So to write it in English, you got this word right here. We got Khala, right? Meaning pain. So it's a sickness. So if you go into your strong concordance, you go into your Bible dictionary, go to Concordance Code, go to Concordance Code 24. Let me see, make sure I got this correct. 2470, H2470, right? It'll give you Khala. If you go to, Makhala, it'll say it's from Khala, which will give you the same concordance code 2470, right? It'll say sickness from abrasion or bruise, or it'll say things like that, right? Like, so this sickness, it'll say sick also. Sickness from abrasion, bruise. So this type of sickness is pain, right? So when you add ma to khala, you get makhala, meaning of pain, which is the literal translation, or you put it together and you get a salakia. You get sickness. This particular sickness causes pain, right? Next thing, we got wakal. So we had, what I'm saying, at this point we should already know that call means all, right? So when you add a wa at the beginning, what does that wa mean? You look at your prepositions, you got wa meaning and. So wakal means and all. Right? Here's another one. You got ma dawam. Now, we already know from the last word, makhala, we know that ma is the preposition that changes this word right here, this root word. So it'll pertain to this root word, but it'll be a different word, right? Or it'll be of this word. It'll be of this word, but it'll change the word completely. Well, not completely. It'll just pertain to or be of this word. So you got ma, the one. So you got the one meaning sick. Right? And we know that this means of. You put it together, of sick. Then you have disease. Right? So we're asking the Most High for the power to heal all manner of sickness, wakal, and all madawam, disease, and all manner of disease. Right? So go ahead and And the more comfortable that we get, the better notes that we take, the more we study, the more we ask questions. I'm saying the more comfortable we're going to get with these small concepts. And then, what I'm saying, it'll become more apparent that all we're doing is just building off of these smaller concepts that we learn from the things that we say every day. All right. So like, you give me just 1 second. So it's like, as I was saying, learning these, getting comfortable with these small concepts, it'll help you compound these small concepts into bigger concepts, right? Into bigger phrases and bigger sentences, so that we can build our vocabulary. And, in that, once you're able to separate, like how we did here, ma, da, wum, it'll help you be able to learn new root words, new phrases as you just read through, the Blue Letter Bible, or Bible Hub, as you read through the Concordance, and run into different things, the Greek Interlinear Bible, as you read through, you'll start to be able to bust these words down, and you may not know what a word means. But then if you just bust it down, like, okay, you may not know what a word means, but then you know what the prepositions are, and you know what the possessives are, and you know what. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put it all up here. So we got ya, wa, one, we got yum, right? So all these things in addition to, so you already should have these prepositions and possessives in your notes. In addition to these things, now you have these that you can add to your belt, your understanding, your Hebrew understanding. So you got ya coming in the middle of a word, wa in the middle of a word. You got wan at the end of a word. You got the ma, and even though it's a possessive, you can understand what that possessive does to the word. So instead of reading it as of sick, you'll be like, okay, ma da wum, of sick. You'll be able to be like, okay, disease. Like, this is a disease. Because you use this preposition to build a brand new root word, right? And then, of course, you got yum at the end. We all know that that's a suffix that means plural, yum or yun, right? For the feminine, right? So you take all of these concepts and understanding what they mean, what they do to a word, you'll be able to pinpoint these things as you come up as you come across new words, right? Let's see. Right. So you know what I'm saying? Just keep that in mind, right? So you can, now that you have these, you can apply this to anything. All right, let me see if I can find a word, right? So we just gonna go to Genesis 1:1, right? Open up Bible Hub. A Bible Hub. You can go to any book of the Bible, or any, you know what I'm saying, any book of the Bible, and just start reading. You know what I'm saying? So we got Genesis 1:1. It says Bara Ashyath, or it's like, yeah, Bara Ashyath, Bara Alahayim, Atha, Hashemayim, Wa'atha, Ha'aratazah, right? So, matter of fact, let me go ahead and put this up here, right? So we're gonna we're gonna pick a word out of here. So we know the Genesis 1:1, if you read it in the English, it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? But you know what I'm saying, we might not know that off the top of our head. You know what I'm saying? If we're just opening the scriptures and just trying to read it, you know what I'm saying, without the English, you know, we might get, you know what I'm saying, we might get a little bit lost unless we know what these things right here mean. Ya, ma, wa, yum, wan, and what they do to a word, right? So let me put this up here just for what we got. So ya means past tense, wa means present, wan is a proper noun or a name. Ma essentially creates just a new root word by adding ma to it. So we had shapat, judge, ma shapat, judgment, right? So we got, and yum, plural. Right. So you know what these words or these things are and what they do to the word. Then you can start to bust down words. So now we take Genesis 1:1. You got Ba Ra'ash Yath, right? And then you got so you got Ba Ra'ash Yath, right? So what you would do to find out what this word means, and we already went over it before, but you know what I'm saying, just as a, you know what I'm saying, this is review. So again, a lot of the things that we're gonna be talking about tonight are gonna be things that we already went over. But you know what I'm saying, this is how you will find this, just to refresh our memories, right? So just looking at our notes, what we already know, what we've been saying all night, what we say all day to one another, Yahweh Ba Hashem, Yahweh Shah Barakatah. When you see that ba in the beginning of a phrase, you can usually automatically determine that that's a preposition for in. You got ba. So now we don't see yum, we don't see yum or one at the end. We don't see any possessives at the end, do we? No possessives at the end that we recognize. We don't see any. We don't see wa. We don't see ya, wa. Well, we do see a ya right here, but it's not. We know that it's not this ya right here, meaning past tense, because usually in the root word we know that ya comes at the second or third. It'll come in as a second or the third character in the word. So since it's the fourth character, we know that it's not this ya right here, so we can rule that out, right? And it doesn't have any possessives or any additional prepositions other than ba, right? So once you rule all those things out, you don't see those, you can just assume that this right here is a root word. So that's when you would need to have your tools available to you, right? So we got this right here, the Strong's concordance, Salakia, the strong concordance of the Bible, right? So it's ideal to have it on your phone. You know what I'm saying? So when you're out and about, you don't have to carry this big old textbook around with you. You can just have it handy in your phone and, do a quick search and get on with your day. But for, for demonstration purposes, since, Esau's technology is, whack, they're the devil the Bible speaks of, I won't be able to show you from my phone on the camera without it being blurry or illegible or, anything like that. So I'm gonna use this text, right? So I can show you how to use this textbook, this dictionary. This textbook has a concordance in the front, which will have every English word that appears in the Bible. And then in the back of the book, it'll have a Greek and it'll have a Hebrew and a Greek. So I'm going to show you. We'll have the Hebrew and Greek dictionary. So you see, I got my bookmarks, in there, just so, brothers been up in here studying. Well, we got the Greek dictionary right there in the back. You probably can't see that either. Dang, you saw the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. But you should be able to open up this book and be like, okay, Ra'ash Yath, all right? Because you've been studying, right? You've been studying, so you can recognize these characters, Ra, Ah, Sha, Ya, Tha. You know what I'm saying? So you could put it together, Ra'ash. So you know that Ra'ash is first, or from our past classes when we studied ordinal numbers. So you got Ra'ash meaning first. So what does the Yath come in? So you would go into but even if you haven't been in class, right? Even if you missed that class and you just see Ra'ash Yath, right? You could just go into your Hebrew dictionary, right? And go Abba Gada Hawaza like you do in, in your regular dictionary. Right? So you go Abba Gada Hawaza and find Ra. Ra. So you go to the Ra section. Then what do you get next? You got Ra. We're in the Ra section now, so you got Ra, Ah. So you want to find, after you get to the Ra section, you want to find Ah, Ra, Ah, right? So should be right in the beginning of the Ra section because Ah is the beginning of the Hebrew alphabet. The next character you want to look for is Sha. You know. All right, so we got right here. Let me see if I can put this on the thing. So we did our due diligence, right? We did our due diligence, went into the dictionary, and it's a little bit slower than, you know what I'm saying, finding it on your phone. But, you know, sometimes life ain't easy, right? You know, sometimes you got to do a little digging if you really care about your culture and your language, right? So you got, let me see if it'll adjust. Yeah, that's super blurry. No sweat. But, you know, we just walked right through it, right? We just walked right through it. So we went to Ra, then Ra'ah, then Ra'ash. Then you should find the word you're looking for eventually. Ra'ash, Yah. So that's Concordance Code H7225, meaning, and it'll say from the same as the first in place, time, order, and rank. Beginning, chiefest, first, or first fruits, right? So we got beginning, right? So we're looking at Genesis 1:1. Ba in Ra'ashwa, it just said this means first or beginning. So in beginning, right? So that's how you would bust down words. Like even if we never seen these words, these Hebrew words in our lives, you look at the word, separate it from any of these possessive prepositions or any of these tenses that changes the root word completely from a, you know what I'm saying, past, present, plural, or whatever. You separate that off the word, and then you get the root word by itself. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you might get it wrong, right? But if you look into the dictionary and separate what you know, you get the ba, you separate that off, and then you know what I'm saying, look it up. You might find that this word comes from a smaller root word, right? Which we talked about earlier, which is Ra'ash. So Ra'ash means first as in ordinal number, like first, second, third, fourth, fifth. But and then you add Ra'ash Yah at the end, making it beginning. Now, say, what if we take this off, right? Take the ba off, and we take this off, and we do Ra'ash. So we got Ra'ash 1, right? Well, we got 1 right here. We know that this, from our due diligence, we know that this means first. Put this up here. Ra'ash. So we know we got Ra'ash, meaning first. We add the 1 at the end, which means it still means first, but now we're naming something. Right? So usually when you see Ra'ash 1, it's talking about the name of the first month, or you would just have to look at the context of what you're reading to be able to distinguish what they're talking about. First month, first year, or first what's up?
Like for a child, something like that.
First child. Not necessarily, unless you're naming your child Ra'ash 1, which would mean first. So I guess you could name your child Ra'ash 1, okay. But this is talking about like how we name, like how your oppressor would call the first month January. Lashawan is the name of the first month. All right. So just depending on the context, you will just know, you know what I'm saying? That the context of what the scripture, where if this comes up in the scripture, I believe this is Concordance Code 7223. If you see that in the scriptures, you'll just be able to take that word, look it up in the Hebrew dictionary, and find out what that word means in that particular context. Which brings me to my next point. So we went to the concordance. We went to the Hebrew, the Strong Concordance of the Bible, and we basically, with this word that we learned in Genesis, you know what I'm saying, by Ra'ash Yath, in the beginning, we learned how to. Oh, slack it. Let me get about this way. So we learned how to determine what this word meant. Ra'ash. Well, now I got. So we got in Genesis, you got Ra'ash Yath, and we learned how to find the English translation of this Hebrew word. Now, just to review again, we're going to learn how to reverse search. So we got Hebrew to English. Now we're going to review how to find words from English to Hebrew in their context, right? So now we got, just take this word right here. So we got, let's say we got, it's a lock here, 1 second. So say we got the, let's just take this word right here. Leave this up here. We'll go ahead and erase this, right? And all of these things, you know, I'm gonna leave these concepts up, or try to, throughout the class, so that we can refer to them, but you should have them in your notes. As a matter of fact, I would write these down in your notes. Just write them down, just like I would write them with your prepositions and your possessives on a, you know what I'm saying, as a separate list, of course, but like, you know what I'm saying, in the same part of your notes, so that you can refer to it. Because just like you use prepositions and possessive to bust down words and phrases, you're going to be using these, you're going to be using these to bust down phrases. You know what I'm saying? So when you're busting down phrases and words, you want to be able to just flip to one part of your notes and be like, okay, just scan all of that, and then be able to check out, you know what I'm saying, check those out. Does it have a possessive preposition? Does it have a ya, ma, wa, yum, you know, a pluralization, right? So you want to be able to check those off, right? So I'm going to leave that up there for a little bit, but in a little minute, once we get into, we're going to review something else, but then I'm going to, toward the end of the class, I'm going to give you a new concept. So I'm going to erase this and just, you know, I'm going to just trust that you know what I'm saying, follow orders, or, you know what I'm saying, follow my suggestions and took down the notes, right? I'm going to just trust that. And if not, you know what I'm saying, you guys rewind if that's what you want to do. But okay, so we talked about how to search Hebrew words in the concordance, right? So Hebrew to English. Now we're going to learn how to go from English to Hebrew. So I'm going to use this word right here because I believe a sister had a question about this word, and I just wanted to use this as an example, right? So we got plural. Salakia from my beatboxing. My fault. So we got we use this word. You got clean or cleanse. I'm gonna put this in parentheses, so don't, you know what I'm saying? Because we got to remember that when we're looking up a word, certain words we're not going to find like in the Bible, because the Bible is translated in 1611 where they spoke a different type of English. So where we would say clean, the Bible says cleanse. So when you're searching words, you have to first keep that in mind. When you're searching words in English, okay, how do I say this? How do I say, like, you're not going to look up something silly like motorcycle. How do you say motorcycle in Hebrew? Well, that's a good question. Because were there motorcycles back then? No. So you're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not going to look up something silly like that. So when you're looking up a word in the Hebrew or in the English and you just want to know how to say something, just keep in mind, how did they say this in the Bible? Right. So first thing you want to keep in mind. What's good?
If I could just real quick, just bounce off you saying, it's like when John had a revelation, you know what I'm saying, how he described our airplanes, you know,
right,
airplane with missiles and stuff like that. John said it would be dragons in the sky. So
right.
To your point. So
no, exactly. No, that's absolutely correct. And I'm the water for bringing that example out. Just like in Ezekiel, when he saw the chariot, well, what he saw was what he described. He described what he saw as a flying roll. But you know, we know damn rolls don't fly. You know what I'm saying? Bread don't fly. You know what I'm saying? Unless we got people out here just throwing bread. You know what I'm saying? But what he just used what he had at the time as a reference to describe what he saw. So you're not going to see airplane like you just said, or aircraft or chariot or you will see chariot, but you won't see like a car or, you know, things like that. You'll see descriptors. So just keep that in mind as you look into words and try to translate them from English to Hebrew, right? And that's a great zeal to have. That's an excellent zeal to have, to want to go into the concordance, into the Hebrew dictionary, into, you know what I'm saying, ask questions in class and try to learn what words mean. That's an excellent zeal to have, and you don't want to lose that, because like we brought out last week, and Jeremiah says, ask and seek for the old past, which is the good way, right? Just paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? So whenever you read in the scripture, just be like, okay, how do I say this in Hebrew? How do I say this in Hebrew? You know what I'm saying? You always want to be in that type of mind state. So moving on, I don't want to talk too much. I want to be able to get through a lot of this, right? So we're going from English to Hebrew. Now, this is pretty easy, right? This is pretty easy. Now, if you have this text right here, again, this text right here, in the beginning, right? It'll have the concordance in the beginning. After you get past the preface and the couple you know what I'm saying, the extra pages in the front, it'll say, I don't know if you can see that, but it says main concordance, right? So this is where you will find your Hebrew, or you will find your English words and where they show up in the Bible. So and it's in alphabetical order, just like the dictionary. So you got all these tabs. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but like in the side, it has all these tabs. So you can just skip right to the word that you're looking for in alphabetical order by tab. So we're looking for the word clean or cleanse, right? So you go to the beginning and you say, okay, A, B, C. Now we're in the C section of the main concordance. So just like you do in Hebrew, just like you do in the English dictionary, you will say C, C-L, C-L-E. You will spell out your word and find that character or that letter until you find the word that you're looking for. So now we're in the CL, right? The CL section. Now you go to till you find. So we got clean, cleanse, or we got clean. We got a couple of different words that pertain to this word right here. So we got clean, which will be the first one to show up. So you got clean, then you got cleanness, right? Then you got cleanse, then you got cleansed with a ed at the end, and then cleanseth, like it says in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Occasionally, right? Cleansing, clear. You know what I'm saying? So you will look into these words, right? And when you look into these words, it'll have a long list of concordance codes on the right-hand side, right? And then on the left-hand side, it'll have the scripture. So it's in Genesis 7:2. Of every clean beast thou shalt make to thee, thou shalt take to thee. Salakia. So let's go ahead and grab that one time. So, we ain't got to go to it. So it just says in Genesis 7:2, it uses the word clean. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee, right? So this sounds like, this sounds like where Noah is receiving instructions from the Lord to gather the clean and unclean beasts into the ark, because he's about to, flood the earth, right? So let me see. So once you find that, you would go to that concordance code. You will get that concordance code, and if you notice, it says H2889. So that's the concordance code. And what you want to always do is just go down the list, and you'll see the most of the words that pertain to the word clean is going to be H2889. And you know what I'm saying, whatever that means, that's the word, whatever the word that is associated with H2889, that's the word that is most used in the scriptures pertaining to this word clean. So he's going to go down, look at the most used word, and that's typically going to be the word that you use. You know what I'm saying? The word that you're looking for. So let's see what H2889 is, right? So you'll take that concordance code, go to the back of your Bible or your concordance. Or if you have a separate, I know some brothers and sisters got the concordance and the Hebrew dictionary separate. There's nothing wrong with that. But you want to take that concordance code and take it to the back, or take it to your Hebrew dictionary and find. And the good thing about the concordance code is it's all in order, right? So it's in order by number. So now you don't have to know a lick of Hebrew. You don't have to try to remember the Hebrew. How do you say this in Hebrew? And then try to guess, and then go to find the Hebrew characters and all of that. You can just follow the numbers. That's what the concordance codes are for. So you go to H2889, right? Slovakia. 2889. And it'll say it at the top of the top corners, just like the English dictionary, to help guide you through it, right? So you're not just flipping through aimlessly. So you can't see that up there. Let's see if it'll. Nah, but it'll say the concordance code right at the top, right? So you got 2889. So if you go to Concordance Code 82889, it'll say it'll give you this word right here. So clean or cleanse. And you should recognize this word from the hakak, Salakia, hakak, right? It'll give you this word. Now, so you got tahar. That's the word that means clean, to clean, or cleanse, right? And if you look into your concordance, it'll say the same thing for cleanse, right? It'll just have that same concordance code for the most part, 2889, right? It'll say tahar. And we know from the hakak, we asked the Most High for the power for hakak, la tahar, the power to clean, right? So it'll say la tahar in the hakak, right? So la tahar. So even if you don't know a lick of Hebrew, even if you don't know, you just want to know how to say a certain thing. Now we just learned how to say clean in Hebrew. It's tahar. Simple, right? Now now you got to understand though that concordance code, let me put it up here, 82889. That concordance code is there for a reason. That code pertains to a specific context referring to this word. So depending on the context, a different word may be used or it may be the same word. You can tell by the concordance code. So you'll see this for the most part, because for the most part, the context of clean is the same, right? So it's tahar. Now, before we go to another word, I just want to show something right here. So for review from last class, we had this, tahawar. Now, based off of, you know what I'm saying, these tenses, let me just erase this right here. You got we got tahar, and then you add a wa, tahawar, right? This means clean, or this makes the word present tense, right? So clean becomes cleaning, or cleanse becomes cleansing, or depending on the context, purifying, or
That's my thought.
yeah,
Like purifying.
right, yeah. So now remember, if you have a brother's name, if you're using a word for a brother's name, it's not always going to be an exact translation. That's just, you know what I'm saying, for practicality, right? It's not always going to be an exact translation, but you know, just for practice purposes, you know, we went from tahar, clean, to tahawar, meaning cleaning, just for practice, right? So let's look to see if there's any other context for this word clean or cleanse. So we looked up clean in the dictionary. or in the concordance, right? And let's see if there's another context, right? Let's look at see if there's another context that we use. Now, the thing about the concordance codes is if you see, like earlier we looked at concordance code H7225, which was Ra'ash Yath. Concordance code H223 or H7223 is Ra'ash Wan. So if you have a concordance code that's close together in number, 7225, 7223, it's usually going to have the same root word, or it's going to be a different way of spelling the same word, or it's going to be basically the same word. Ra'ash Wan, Ra'ash Yah. So if you're looking for a totally different word, just for studying purposes, you go back to the concordance, look through it. You got 2889 all the way through for the most part. And then you got 2891, right? That is going to be a variation of tahar. So if you want a different word, or if you're looking for a different word, you don't necessarily have to look into it. It's good to look at it, but for time purposes, just for the sake of time, we're not going to necessarily looking at it. I'm just letting you know, if you look into that concordance code, because it's it's the same as, because it's right next to 2889, 2891, it's going to be the same word or a variation of the same word. So if you want a different word, you got to look at a vastly different concordance code, right? So you got 2889, 2889, 2891, and then eventually you'll start to see Let me see. Keep going. So let's see if we can find. It's a lot. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so if you look in your concordance code, you'll find, let me use, for example, we got H5352. So we got it from clean or cleanse, right? So you look into those words, and you'll find this concordance code. Five, 3, 5, 2. Right? Now, this is a different word, but it means the same thing in a different context. Now, tahar means to like clean or purify something, like washing, like how you clean your clothes or how you clean up someone, how you clean, like a drug addict, or okay, so you got like how drug addicts say, I'm trying to get clean, or alcoholics, they're like, I'm trying to get clean. Or how you would, you're clean your dishes. This is tahar is referring to that, like cleaning cleaning something or cleansing. Now this, if you look at this concordance code here, you'll get, move out the way, you'll get this. Right. So now that's totally different than tahar, right? You know, it's a different word, means the same thing though, but in a different context. Now, you can see, if you see this concordance code, you'll see the scripture that is used in, the context that is used in, and all of that. So you'll go to that content, or you'll go to that concordance code, and then you'll go back into your Hebrew dictionary and find that concordance code, and it'll give you this right here. Now, like it 1 second. Now that concordance code should give you this definition. It'll say, I'm gonna go ahead and erase this. We should already know. We should already have these in our notes. You know what I'm saying? Gave y'all some time, you know, more than enough time, just so we can get rid of this clutter. We got, so tahar means to clean or to cleanse, to make clean, right? To clean up something. This word right now, this word right here means to be clean, right? If you look at if you read the whole definition, it says to be or make clean, literally or figuratively, right? To be, so to acquit, altogether be blameless. So if somebody's clean, like say you get pulled over or whatever the case is, or you get, you know what I'm saying, falsely accused of a crime, of, you know what I'm saying, drug trafficking or whatever, and the police search you, pat you down, and you ain't got nothing on you, they're gonna be like, he's clean, right? He's blameless, right? Or, you know what I'm saying, you get falsely accused of any crime, you know what I'm saying, murder or theft or whatever the case is, they scan it for fingerprints or DNA and all of that, and they can't find a match for you, even though our oppressor, we already know our oppressors so bad want to accuse us of the most heinous crime so they can lock us up legally with the 13th Amendment and slavery. They can, that's the word I'm looking for, slave. They can enslave us intentionally and legally through the 13th Amendment, right? So they want to put, you know what I'm saying, they want to accuse you of the most heinous crime so they could kill you and use you as slave labor legally, right? But when they look for the evidence to bring up against you in court and they can't find none, you're clean, you're blameless. To be blameless. Right? And this word right here is the pronunciation in English, naqua. So it means clean, but in a different context. So at first we was talking about cleaning up something, like making something clean, like literally, or purifying something to make pure, like we like that purified water, that spring water, you know what I'm saying, rather than tap water, you know what I'm saying? That's to make something clean. This is clean in a figurative, it could be a literal sense also, but a figurative sense, to be blameless, to be clean, like a person is clean, something is clean, something like without a blemish. That's what blameless means, without a blemish. So That's how, you know what I'm saying, that's how you will reverse search. That's how you will reverse search a word. And it's tedious, I know, using this gigantic. Let me put my bookmark back while I'm talking. I don't lose my place. But, you know, using this big old gigantic book right here, like, it's kind of tedious, you know what I'm saying, going through it. But, you know, something that we got to do if we really love the Lord and we really love our culture. Or you could just download it on your phone. You know what I'm saying? It's 2022. You know what I'm saying? Although, you know what I'm saying, reading is fundamental, you know what I'm saying, it's good to have hard copy books. But when you're out and about, you want to have these resources on your phone as well. So you're not constantly thumbing through and, you know what I'm saying, books get damaged. You know what I'm saying? All of that. So just keep that in mind, all right? Last thing before we go ahead and close out. So we talked about plurals, right? So we got Salakia. So we talked about plurals, right? So we got ak. How do you pluralize ak? Brother. So we know that ak is brother, right? Talking about one brother. So ak, brother, singular. You would pluralize ak, talking about brother, with yum. So this is your root word, meaning brother. And then this is your tense, which is just up here on the board. Yum, which is brothers, making it plural. Same with akwath. Akwath is sister, right? Should already know this. Akwath. So this is Slaki. So wath. So you got ak as your root word. Wath is your tense. So this word makes it feminine. Wath, which means it goes from brothers or brother to sister. Right? Simple. Now, if we want to pluralize this, we'll do what? Add yun at the end. This is what you use to pluralize it. Right? So those are regular plurals, right? So that's the general rule that you would use if you want to pluralize a word, right? Now I said regular plurals because this is the general rule, but like any language, right? You have exceptions to the rule. And it's okay. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we'll see certain things that are new and we get intimidated because we're trying to digest things that, you know what I'm saying, are familiar, or we just digested something that was familiar and now we got something completely new that changes, you know what I'm saying? Well, wait, I thought yum and yun was how you pluralize, period. Shalom. You know what I'm saying? We're done with it. Right. But it's okay. We're gonna learn something new right now. So we have something called Irregular plurals. Now I will write this down. Right? Irregular plurals. This is what we're going to learn right now. So I'm telling you to write this down for a reason, for brotherhood, right? Out of brotherhood. Because, you know what I'm saying, if you hear something new, you should automatically have your pen and your paper ready, your notebook open, ready to take notes, to digest something new. But, you know, for brothers and sisters out there, you know what I'm saying, you should write this down. Okay? So where we going? Salaki. Lost my train of thought. Okay, we're back. So we're gonna use this word, right? Because we all know this word. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a clean zone, especially, right? You should know this word. Right? So I'm not even gonna write it in English. I'm just write it in Hebrew. Because we should know it. What's good? Okay, no sweat. So we got this word right here. Anybody in the chat? Anybody in the class wanna, you know what I'm saying? Guess what this word is, right? So we got ha ra ba. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna learn today. All right, so if you're in the clean zone, you should know this word, right? You know, we got charab, right? Just give it to you. Charab. Right, let's make sure we practicing that cha. We got the shout Officer Karab of 1,000, camp leader, Killeen, Texas. We got a habit because we so familiar and we just hear, you know what I'm saying? We're like children, right? Especially coming into the truth. And that's not an insult. That's just, you know, that's just how we are. We repeat what we hear and then we learn what it means. Just like your children, they sing in the ABCs all day, like, you know what I'm saying? My daughter, right? She like mouths the words and she's kind of like mouthing what she hears. So it's, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually, after she gets, you know what I'm saying, gets familiar with her ABC, she's gonna learn what the ABC means. And that's how we all learn, right? So it's no different. The only thing is we're stubborn now. We're grown, we think we grown, right? You know what I'm saying? So we're stubborn. So we wanna, you know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily make that adjustment as fast as children. That's why Christ said in Matthew, become as little children, right? But anyway, so we hear like Officer Karab, he'll introduce himself. He'll be like, yeah, I'm Officer Karab of 1,000, and he'll just say Karab, but that's a ha, right? So Karab. You know what I'm saying? Don't be shy, right? You know what I'm saying? Charab. Right? Have that care, and you know what I'm saying? I'm sure he'll appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not called Kazaa. You know what I'm saying? It's called Chazah. You know what I'm saying? It's yeah, Captain, yeah, Most High Christ, the water priest. It's not Katazah, it's Chatazah. Wait. Yeah, it's Chatazah, not Katazah. Chatazah. It's Captain Tazaryak, not Tazaryak. You know what I'm saying? He'll correct you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's not Tazaryak, it's Tazaryak. You know what I'm saying? So just, you know what I'm saying, have that respect and have that diligence so that you can learn your language, and to hell with your oppressor's language. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. So anyway, moving on. So we got Karab, Salakia. We got Karab. You know what I'm saying? We got Karab. So how do you pluralize? Salakia? How do you pluralize Karab? Right? If you have to guess. Just if you want.
Yeah, I want to like. I know I polarized. Oh, would you put WAN in? No.
No. So ak, how do you pluralize ak? Right. So
Same thing
with that, there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just
okay.
off of what we learned. So ak is brother.
Right.
Ak, how do you pronounce or how do you pluralize ak?
You put yum.
Right.
Yum.
So ak yum. So we can assume that Harab is one sword. Two swords, multiple swords is right. So we can we'll assume that. Now don't write this down quite yet. I'm just making a point, right? So we'll assume because of how we absorb information, we'll just assume okay, Harab yum, ak yum, right, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what we'll assume, but that's not what the case is. This is what you would call an irregular plural, right? So don't write this down, right? Into water for your participation, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? We'll just assume that. But this is what you would call an irregular plural. So you wouldn't say Harab yum. In this particular case, you would say Salaki. You would say Harab waf. Right? So again, an irregular plural. Right? So this is just something that you're just going to have to commit to memory. Just keep in mind that and when you see these things, when you see these things, you can start to apply it to, you know what I'm saying, when you're reading the Hebrew and you don't know what the word necessarily means. You could be like, okay, this must be an irregular plural, or it's like, because waf can also mean like rank or subjugation, right? So like you have malak, just to not to get off topic, but yeah, so you got malak, and I'm not gonna write it in Hebrew just because it's off topic. But you got malak, and I'm saying subjugation for a reason, because we'll see this like akwaf. We'll just assume that waf is feminine. Well, you don't want to think of feminine and masculine necessarily. Like the things that we use for feminine, or what your oppressor will call feminine and masculine, is just rank. It's subjugation. That means one is serving the other, right? So sometimes when you see waf, it'll mean one is serving the other. So you got malak, which means king.
I got a question.
What's good?
So you said Karaf, waf mean someone. So it's not him. It's not him that being subjugated. It's people under him.
No. So okay. So this word right here. No. So this word right here is
irregular.
Yeah, is an irregular plural. So Harab waf is swords.
Right. Oh, okay. I got you.
This is an irregular plural. And it's irregular because that waf, when you see it, it's the waf is serving.
Right. I see. Yeah.
Right. And we're gonna get into that maybe next class. I'm gonna look into that. But so you got malak, meaning king, and then you add waf. Wath. Shout out to Officer Malak Wath in Houston. You know what I'm saying? His name means King Dumb.
Right.
Kingdom. And that Wath means it usually indicates something is serving another. That's what that suffix means. So, or one of the suffixes. Again, we'll get into it next class, but I'm just bringing this up as an example. So the kingdom serves the king.
Right.
So that's where you get Malak Wath. But in this case, in Kharab, just to stay on topic, is an irregular plural. So we're gonna get a couple of them, a couple more. So same thing with Napash. So lock you. So you got na Napash. The word Napash means life, being, creature, soul, depending on the context, right? It could mean all these things, right? So how do you say multiple creatures, beings, souls, right? Multiple lives. Like just like life is like, I'm gonna write this a little bigger, just to make a point, right? So life in life in English is L-I-F-E. Now, how do you pluralize life?
L-I-V-E, like.
Yeah, absolutely. So life, L-I-F-E, turns into L-I-V-E-S. That is in English an irregular plural, because normally you would pluralize it with just a S, but it's not lives, it's lives. Right. Just like in Hebrew. So this is another irregular plural. So you got Napash in Hebrew is life, being, creature, soul, you know what I'm saying, depending on the context. So yes, exactly. This is another example. Now there are other examples. We're gonna have to get into it next week, just for lack of time. But Napash Wath would be lives, creatures, beings, right? So again, tonight was just a little review so that we can make sure we're retaining and practicing what we already learned, putting it into practice so we can retain it and build on something new next week. Next week, we're going to continue talking about irregular plurals. And what else? There was one other thing I wanted to get into. Oh, yeah. The suffixes that mean, you know what I'm saying, subjugation, or that implies subjugation or serving, right? So we talked about Malak Wath, what I'm saying, we're going to compound on that and, you know what I'm saying, get into that, right? But, you know what I'm saying, the water for the brothers and sisters who endured, you know what I'm saying, who endure every week in class. Shalom, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah Brakathum to all the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Athah Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. You know what I'm saying? Stay diligent, keep taking notes, you know what I'm saying, asking questions. Right, and shalom.